There's a voice inside, a quiet, heavy ghost that lives in the past. It whispers the two most painful words in the human language: if only. If only I had chosen a different path. If only I hadn't stayed in that relationship for so long. If only I hadn't wasted all those years feeling lost. We carry these stories like invisible chains, believing that our life is a map filled with wrong turns. We live in a quiet war with our own past, exhausted from an argument with a reality that can never be changed. But what if you have misunderstood the entire nature of the war? What if every chapter you regret, every single detour, every heartbreaking mistake was not an accident? What if it was all part of a sacred contract, a curriculum your soul chose before you were even born, perfectly designed for its own becoming? Today, guided by the deep wisdom of Carl Jung and the ancient Stoics, we are not going to learn how to fight the past. We are going to learn how to sign a peace treaty with it. We will explore the profound, liberating practice of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate, the courageous act of looking at your one wild and precious life, all of it, and finally being able to say, yes. This is not a lesson. It is an invitation to a ceremony to end the war within and to consciously sign your contract with life. The only question is, are you ready? Before we can say a true and total yes to our lives, we must first understand the nature of our unconscious no. It is the most subtle and the most exhausting war a human being can ever fight. It is not fought on a battlefield with others. It is fought silently, inside the private courtroom of your own mind. In this courtroom, the ghost of a better life is always on the stand. The life where you took the other job. The life where you didn't say those hurtful words. The life where you were braver, wiser, different. And in this silent, endless trial, the prosecutor is you, the defendant is you, and the judge is also you. We call this regret, but it is a form of self-torture. A constant argument with a past that cannot hear you and a reality that will not bend. This argument is not a personal failure. It is the default setting of the human ego. The ego is a brilliant map maker. From a young age, it draws a map of how life should go. A straight line from education to career, to family, to retirement. A neat, predictable, and controllable journey. Our suffering, all of our suffering, is born in the gap between the ego's perfect map and the wild, messy, beautiful, and heartbreaking territory of the life we actually live. Let me tell you a story I have seen in my work 1,000 times in 1,000 different forms. It's the story of a woman we will call Chloe. Chloe is 48. She is a successful healthcare administrator. She has a corner office, the respect of her peers, a comfortable home. By all external measures, her life is a success. But every evening, after the noise of the day has settled, a quiet ache visits her. It is the ghost of the painter she never became. She remembers being 20, standing at a crossroads. One path led to art school, a path of passion, uncertainty, and financial risk. The other led to a business degree, a path of security and parental approval. She chose security, and for 28 years she has told herself it was the right choice. But in the back of a closet, there is a box of expensive, unopened art supplies she bought a decade ago, a silent shrine to a different life. Sometimes she will look at a painting in a museum or see the biography of a female artist, and a sharp, bitter voice will whisper inside her, "If only. If only I had been braver. I wasted my one chance. I wasted my life." Now look closely. Chloe is not at war with her life. Her life is good. She is at war with a story, a ghost story of the life she believes she should have had. She is judging the real, living territory of her life against the dead, perfect map of her ego. This is the human condition. This is the unconscious war. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the ego's primary function is to create order and control. It is a manager, not a mystic. And there is nothing the ego hates more than what it cannot control. And the past is the most uncontrollable thing of all. So it replays it, analyzes it, tries to solve it like a math problem. It believes that if it just thinks hard enough, regrets deeply enough, it can somehow retroactively fix the wrong turn. But it cannot. And this effort, this constant, grinding, internal argument with what is the single greatest drain on your psychic energy. This war is not free. It is paid for with your life force. It is paid for with your presence, your joy, and your ability to show up for the life that is actually in front of you today. Every moment you spend arguing with yesterday is a moment of today that you have lost forever. You are not just haunted by the past, you're allowing it to steal your present. Let's pause here for a moment. Just breathe. I invite you to bring to mind one chapter from your past, one you have labeled a mistake or wasted time. You don't have to change it. You don't have to fix it. Just for a second, notice the energy around it, the heaviness, the contraction in your chest. That is the cost of the argument. That is the energy this war is costing you every single day. This is not your fault. This is the work the ego does when it is not guided by a deeper wisdom. It creates a prison of the past and convinces you it is a fortress of responsibility. But what if this entire war is based on a profound misunderstanding? What if the crooked, tangled path of your past was not a mistake at all? What if the pain you feel is not a punishment for your wrong turns, but a symptom of a much deeper, more sacred story trying to be born?
So, what is this sacred story, this deeper truth trying to be born from the pain of your past? It begins with a radical, courageous reframing of your entire life. It is a perspective taught by the great Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, and echoed in the deepest psychological work of Carl Jung. It is the practice of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. This is not a passive resignation. It is not saying, "I have no choice, so I give up." It is the most powerful, active, and defiant choice a human being can make. It is the choice to look at your one unrepeatable life, with all of its crooked paths and painful detours, and to believe that nothing that happened was a mistake. It is the choice to believe that every event, especially the most difficult ones, was not happening to you. It was happening for you. The pain you feel is not a punishment for your wrong turns. It is the pain of arguing with a single, non-negotiable term in your soul's sacred contract. Imagine this for a moment. Before your soul entered this life, it sat down at a great table with the universe, and together you co-wrote a curriculum, a perfect, bespoke course of study designed for one purpose: the growth and wholeness of your own being. This curriculum is your life, and in this contract, you didn't just write down the easy lessons. You didn't just sign up for joy and success and love. You knew that to become truly whole, you would need the entire curriculum. You needed the chapter on heartbreak to learn compassion. You needed the chapter on failure to find humility. You needed the chapter on being lost to discover your own inner compass. Every event you regret was simply a required course. Every wrong turn was a necessary part of the map. And the signature at the bottom of the page is yours. Let's go back to Chloe, the woman haunted by the ghost of the painter she never became. From the ego's perspective, her story is a tragedy of wasted potential. But from the soul's perspective, from the perspective of the sacred contract, a new story emerges. What if the clause in her contract that said, "You will choose security over art at age 20, was not a curse? What if it was the very thing designed to give her future art its depth? What did those 28 years in the wrong career teach her? They taught her discipline. They taught her how to navigate complex systems. They taught her about the quiet suffering and the deep humanity of the people she worked with every day. They taught her about the very real ache of an unlived life. This is not wasted time. This is research. This is the gathering of the raw human material that will make her art not just pretty, but profound. She begins to see those 28 years not as a prison, but as a monastery, a long, slow apprenticeship in the study of the human heart. The regret doesn't vanish overnight, but the self-torture begins to dissolve. It is replaced by a strange, quiet, and profound sense of self-compassion. She can finally look at that scared 20-year-old girl who chose safety, not with judgment, but with love. She was not a coward. She was simply following the script, the perfect, painful script of her own becoming. This is the alchemy. This is the heart of what Carl Jung called the journey of individuation. It is the process of integrating your shadow, of looking at the parts of your past you have judged as dark and wrong and shameful, and finding the hidden gold within them. Your contract, my contract, Every human contract has the same fundamental terms. It is the agreement to embrace the great dance of opposites, to say yes to the light and the shadow, to know that your capacity for great kindness is born from understanding your own capacity for cruelty, to say yes to joy and grief, to understand that a heart that can break is a heart that is alive, to say yes to success and failure, to know that you learn more from your falls than from your victories. These are not enemies. They are not good versus bad. They are the two wings of the same bird, and you need both to fly. Pause here with me, just for a moment. Bring back that chapter of your life, the one you carry with so much heaviness, the mistake, the wrong turn. And now I invite you to try a small, quiet experiment. Silently, or in a whisper, say to yourself, "This was a term in my contract. This was part of the curriculum." Just feel that. Feel the small shift, the loosening of the grip, the quiet dawn of a new kind of peace. That is the beginning of self-compassion. This reframing is not an intellectual trick. It is an act of reclaiming your power. As long as you are a victim of your past, you are powerless. The moment you choose to believe that you are a student of your past, you reclaim your agency. You are no longer a character in a story that happened to you. You are stepping into the author's chair. For when you stop arguing with the terms of your life, you finally become free to live it. And in that freedom, a new, more profound question begins to emerge. Not why did this happen to me, but now that I have this wisdom, what will I create?
And so, when the war with your own story finally ends, what happens next? When you stop arguing with the terms of your contract and you begin to say yes, what is the first thing you create? It is not a work of art. It is not a new business. The first thing you create is a new silence. A quiet space inside you that was once filled with the noise of the courtroom, the noise of regret, of blame, of if only. And in this new spacious silence, a profound energy that was once tied up in the past is liberated. It returns to you, a great river flowing back into its own riverbed, and you feel it, not as a manic high, but as a deep, quiet, and solid sense of peace. This is the state of the integrated self. It is not a life without problems. It is a life without the problem of your life. It is a peace that does not depend on circumstances. It is a peace that can hold both joy and sorrow in the same hand. Let's return to Chloe one last time. After her great reframing, after she began to see her wasted years as a sacred part of her contract, something shifted. She didn't quit her job. She didn't sell her house and move to Paris to paint. That is the ego's fantasy of freedom. The soul's freedom is much more subtle and much more real. One evening, she walked to the closet. She opened the box of dusty, unopened art supplies, and she took out a single tube of blue paint and a small canvas. She didn't try to paint a masterpiece. She didn't paint with the ghost of a famous artist over her shoulder. She just painted. Messy, imperfect, joyful strokes of color. She was not trying to become a painter. She was simply painting. The argument was over. The creative energy was finally free to move. The next day at work, something else had changed. She looked at the faces of the patients and her colleagues, and she saw them differently. She saw the quiet heroism in the nurse working a double shift. She saw the deep, unspoken grief in the family in the waiting room. She realized her work was not just administration. It was the art of holding space for human suffering and resilience. The monastery she had once resented had revealed itself to be a cathedral. Her life had not changed, but her way of being in her life had been completely transformed. This is the freedom of yes. It is not about getting a different life. It is about falling in love with the life you have. When you have signed your contract, your actions are no longer driven by the frantic need to prove yourself or the terrified fear of making another mistake. Your actions begin to arise from a different place, a place of quiet, centered, and authentic alignment. You no longer ask, "What should I do?" You begin to ask, "What is the truest, most loving thing to do right now?" Sometimes the answer is to work hard. Sometimes the answer is to rest. Sometimes the answer is to speak up. Sometimes the answer is to be silent. The inner compass, once buried under the rubble of regret, begins to work again. You start to trust yourself, not because you believe you will always make the right choice, but because you now know that there are no wrong turns. There is only the curriculum. This is the final fruit of all deep inner work, of all the shadow work, of the entire Jungian journey. It is the arrival at a state of profound self-acceptance. You look at your past, not as a series of scars to be hidden, but as the golden seams in a piece of kintsugi pottery, the very cracks that give you your beauty, your character, and your strength. You are no longer a victim of your story. You are not even just the author. You have become the story itself, a living, breathing myth of resilience and redemption. So pause with me one last time. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the air entering your lungs. This moment, this one simple, ordinary moment, is not a means to an end. It is not a stepping stone to a better future. This is it. This is the destination. This is the life your soul wrote into its contract. And the ultimate freedom is the peace that comes from finally knowing that this is enough. The war is over. You don't have to become someone else. You only have to become more of who you already are. What is the one yes waiting for you now that the fight is over? This isn't the end of your journey, but it is the end of the war. And from this place of peace, a new kind of life can finally begin. A life lived not in the shadow of gain and loss, but in the quiet, steady light of your own true self.
We have walked a long way together today. We have journeyed into the courtroom of the mind and named the silent war we wage against our own story. We have looked at the ghosts of our past, not as enemies to be defeated, but as teachers to be honored. And we have held in our hands the most liberating truth of all, that our life is not a series of accidents, but a sacred curriculum our soul chose for its own becoming. This is the great work of Carl Jung, the journey of shadow work. It is the alchemy of turning the lead of our regrets into the gold of our wisdom. Your scars are not signs of damage. They are the golden seams of a life fully lived. Your crooked path was never a mistake. It was your unique, unrepeatable pilgrimage home to yourself. You do not need a different past to have a peaceful present. You only need a new story about the past you already have. A story of courage, a story of resilience, a story that sees every fall not as a failure, but as a lesson in how to fly. So I ask you now, in this quiet space, what would it feel like to lay down your arms, to end the argument, to walk out of the courtroom forever, to look at your beautiful, messy, heartbreaking, magnificent life, and to finally stop fighting it? What would it feel like to finally say yes? This is more than a video. It's an invitation to a ceremony, a quiet, personal ritual to mark the end of the war and the beginning of your peace. The act of consciously signing your contract with life, of choosing your story, of coming home. If you are willing, right now, to consciously sign your contract with life, to say yes to it all, the past, the present, and the unfolding mystery of the future, I invite you to write 3 simple, powerful words in the comments below. I say yes. Let this not be for me or for anyone else. Let this be a declaration to your own soul, an anchor for your new beginning. Let this be a collective affirmation of our courage to live the one life we've been given fully and without reservation. And in that quiet yes, feel the shift, the great release, the return of your own life force. Once you have truly said yes to the whole journey, a new kind of freedom becomes possible. A life no longer defined by the frantic roller coaster of gain and loss. In our next video, we will explore this ultimate liberation by learning what it means to rest in the profound, unshakable peace of the self. But for now, just be here, in the peace of your decision. The war is over. Welcome home.